In this session, we have senior education leaders, and we'll discuss how we can actually get there, how India can come across as a global go-to destination for education. So let me start with you, ma'am. The NEP has actually suggested that India become the go-to destination for higher education. But still, it's the other way around. A lot of students from India travel abroad for education rather than a lot of foreign students coming into India. What do you feel are the top 2 or 3 challenges that India faces in this area?
Sir, some of the biggest challenges are global visibility of Indian education system abroad, and the second challenge I will say it is about the support infrastructure. Though government is spending a lot on developing the infrastructure of Indian universities and education system, still it requires some more improvement. And the job opportunities post-education for global students, that I feel is another challenge which is faced by foreign students.
Great. On to you, ma'am. Your thoughts here?
So I think I would not repeat the ones which have been said.
Sure.
The 2 that I believe are very critical. One is safety. Yeah. Safety for students at large and more specifically for girl students. And the other one is like a small joke. We were kind of talking about our university based out of Gurgaon to the students in South India, and this was somewhere in October, November, and students and parents over there felt, no, AQI is a big concern. Yeah, so I think when ma'am said academics, research, I believe infrastructure, opportunities, and when I say infrastructure, that's across. These are another 2 impediments that as a collective we really need to work on.
Sure. So Dr. Jones, what are your thoughts here? See, I feel barring a few institutions like the IITs and IIMs, I think most of the educational institutions are kind of mediocre. I'm not talking about institutions here, but generally. So do you think that is also an obstacle for any foreign student to consider India as a destination?
Yes, I think see, I think we are a very impatient nation. We want to get there in like super fast speed. Remember that we are competing with countries who have built up educational ecosystems over about almost 100 years. Now the government of India sort of switched on the focus on India being global just a few years ago. Right? Till then, we were not really competing or even thinking about competing in that domain. So I feel that it's not a switch that you can just flick on and expect miracles to happen in like 3-4 years. There's a huge legacy of American schools and UK schools and some European schools as well, where students have traditionally flocked. Now, after our Nalanda days, we haven't had glorious era for a very long time. And so therefore, I feel that let's not jump the gun. The more important thing is to put things in place. We are a massive country with lots of educational boards, different curriculum styles, different languages, and therefore, the biggest challenge right now is to bring a standardized quality of education which is at a global level and also market it. We are also pretty poor marketers, right? There are examples where we have exceptional products and services in India, but globally they're not very well known. Our educational system also, except for maybe like you said, Yashvendra, about the large mediocrity and few pockets of excellence only, those pockets of excellence may be visible to the world, but India for a long time was not seen as a destination to be going for higher education. It'll take a little while, but I think the basic focus is in place now. And I believe that since the government of India has put the spotlight on making Indian education systems at par with the global system, things will happen. And I think everybody sitting here in the room with the education, from the education domain and industry, we have a role to play in terms of upping the quality parameters of the programs that we run and how we market it abroad and so on and so forth. So those are my opening comments.
Sure. No, wonderful inputs there, Dr. Jones. But you know, isn't it ironical when you say that we are in a rush? Because like you said, we had Nalanda, you know, several hundred years back. And now we are still, I mean, still kind of struggling to get there. So great. Moving on to you, sir. What are your thoughts here?
I would like to say that first and foremost, there's a very good chance that one could get a very repetitive year. But academic rigor is lacking in most of the institutions in the country, which has to be moved to the next level. Now, today, the world looks at technology-led innovation, which is again missing. We are unable to inculcate a sense of curiosity in the students. So that, how do you encourage curiosity in a student will become a very, very big issue going forward. Learning, unlearning, which the world universities do so very well, is still alien to us. So we will have to still get into this business of taking care of that. I think in our generation, when we were growing up, that one terminal degree, maybe could be a master's degree, could be a bachelor's degree, and in some cases, like people sitting on this panel, a doctoral degree was the terminal degree, and education almost ended there. Continuous learning is something that we are just about coming to terms with. The world is far ahead in that respect. So that is something also that we as a system will have to imbibe and will have to do in order to make the degrees of all of these students last much more than 5 or 10 years, because continuous skilling and reskilling is the order of the day. Last, and the last point I want to make is what was said earlier. It is that when we used to go to any of these US or UK universities, I myself studied in one of them, they were campus towns. And that town did not have absolutely anything. Maybe on the periphery of that town, there was an Alcoa factory or some Cummins factory or something of that kind. But by and large, 75, 80,000 population of the town, and it was just an academic campus town, catering to the palate of the various nationalities, taking care of their food requirements, taking care of many other things. So all of that infra also will have to develop in parallel for us to make a meaningful beginning in terms of seeing more and more foreign students come to the country.
Definitely, sir. Point well taken. Sir, would you like to add anything beyond what the other panelists have said? Also, you know, coming from a very niche educational institution, do you find it more challenging to attract foreign students?
Yes. Good morning to one and all. And I represent the very niche area of the education, that is the built environment. And I am also the part of the policy making body of the Government of India, and I am the member of the CII and ASUCAIM and FICCI, and everywhere we are talking about the HICCI. That means the higher education body that's now being made by the Government of India, and you will be soon able to see the implementation of the HICCI. But the fact is the change is universal, you know, and if we don't change ourselves, the change will take us to change. So we must be prepared for accepting the global educational institution to come up here, and we must improve upon the 4 things that we believe that we should do that in the forum we are talking about. Number 1 is the value. What kind of value that we are going to add, and we are adding now, and we are when foreign foreign students will come in our campuses, what kind of value that we will be adding to them. So number 2 is the universal knowledge, that whether our course curriculum, whether our programs are universally at par. That is also to be seen. Number 3 is the future orientation, how we are oriented towards the future in terms of the infrastructure, as what has been said, in terms of the student accommodation, hospitality, their hostel and other things, and in terms of the safety, security and other things. And number 4 is the industry centricity or the industry orientation, whether our industry is capable to provide the foreign students here the job, whether their job will be, whether the salary package shall be at par of the when they employ in outside world, whether the salary package will be same. So industry also have to think here in India when we are opening up the global doors, whether we will be whether the industry is ready for it to accept it. So at the CIA level, we are also talking about that, whether the industry, how the industry can be able to capture these foreign students, the foreign brains, these foreign scholars when they come here. So change has to happen, and change will be happening, but we have to gear up for this kind of change. Thank you.
Sure. So one topic that has repeatedly come up during the discussion has been building the right infrastructure for students, which includes, student services, catering to their specifically, dietary requirements and all. So coming back to you, Dr. Anita, ma'am, all this would cost a lot of money. I mean, there's a lot of capex involved in this. Where would this capex come from? I mean, is it the government that's going to fund, the institute has to raise it on its own? How do you build that infrastructure in the first place?
So regarding infrastructure, private institutions, they put in a lot of money to develop this kind of infrastructure for education, but government also has come up with many schemes. So there is a scheme called SPARK. So that is a scheme for promotion of academic and research infrastructure. And another one is GIAN, GIAN, that is a Global Initiative for Academic Network. And another one which is available for all, that is the RUSA scheme, Rashtriya Uchchatar Shiksha Abhiyan, and which is now called as Pradhan Mantri Uchchatar Shiksha Abhiyan grant. And under this, government gives a lot of funding for development of infrastructure, not only to the institutes like IITs, IIM. Recently, IIT Bombay has got huge funding, and they are planning to change entire infrastructure. 75% they want to develop more. So that is one thing. Then the universities have got grant up to the tune of 100 crores. So SNDT University, then the other universities, they have got huge grants. And not only that, colleges like our college, Vivekananda Education Society's College of Arts, Science and Commerce, so they have also got a grant of around 5 crore rupees for infrastructure development. So government is providing a lot of fundings, not only to develop infrastructure, but also to call people from the reputed institutions to come and collaborate. So under faculty exchange programs, to develop the research in the Indian institutes. So government is doing a lot of funding. So using that, we can definitely develop our infrastructure.
Sure. Professor Jaskiran, are you also taking grant from the government, or how are you ramping up the infrastructure? Like you said, ma'am, IIT Delhi, I think, is also now revamping its campus over the next 4-5 years. It's good.
Yeah, so I have a...
Can you please put your mobile on silent, sir? Can you please step out and talk? Thank you so much. Yes, ma'am.
I have a slightly different approach to this. I believe Sporadic investments, they're good, but would they lead us to the desired aspiration that we have for the country? So which therefore means that there has to be a more strategic design. I mean, we all have 24 hours. Saying मेरे पास time नहीं है is for the thing that probably is somewhere down the priority list. So if it is on our priority, funds have to happen. And now your next question that, okay, so if the funds are to happen, where do they come from? So the union budget allocation, 1,300 crores additional, which is about 6% more than the previous one, which is like a big thumbs up, indicative of the right direction, but that's not good enough when we compare the global percentages of the GDP. So government inputs, absolutely. The other, I believe, and which in a way when we are broadly talking of education quality in general, industry has to become significant partners in bringing about this desired quality injection into the system. So I don't believe that there is something that's substantial required per se from the industry, but even if their CSR funding is essentially more driven towards education quality, that not only would kind of bring funds, but would also bring in much needed industry, academia intervention. And the third, of course, is the private institutions themselves. I mean, treating it as a business proposal, and I'm sure, I mean, every one of us here is a very proud Indian that whenever we put our mind to something, it happens. So as every Indian private house, can we kind of put education as a priority? Yeah.
Sure. No, that's a great thought, ma'am. There, diverting funds for CSR into education sector would be a great move, definitely. Dr. Jones, your thoughts here?
Over and above the government's contribution, I think for many years the infrastructure was really not a topic for many schools and colleges because there was always demand outstripping supply. So we were comfortable. Some of the schools, like my school, Great Lakes Institute of Management in Gurgaon and in Chennai, we about 7-8 years ago we decided to go for international accreditations. Now that put us a lot of focus was put on quality, the infrastructure that you are creating or that you already possess, and so on and so forth. So I think over the past few years, there's been a renewed focus on being good quality, not only in terms of curriculum and content, but also giving a decent level of infrastructure for the students, and we call it student life or student experience, right? And it's not only in the classroom, it's also the playing space, their hostel residencies, and so on and so forth. Now, many of us would remember that before a truck brand called Volvo came into India, truck cabins were pretty old-fashioned, right? And the drivers were never treated as if they were going to be contributors to the economy. Basic minimum structure was created. When Volvo came in, they completely changed the scenario of how trucks and transport mechanisms were designed. I think that's what is being visible, being observed now, that with international accreditation, with foreign universities coming in and educators going abroad, looking at all the infrastructure which is available out there, we are also now realizing that the infrastructure quality is on the lower side. Coming to the moderator's question, how do we fund it? I think government funding is probably the easiest thing because, the most difficult thing because you've got to clear a lot of parameters, etc. Number two is, of course, schools tying up with industry and that industry becoming partners, not just in revising curriculum, but also setting up infrastructure, right? Let them also, we would like to invite them to be partners with us in creating this new educational world that we would like India to be, the hub that we'd like it to be. And third is, of course, for example, our school is completely debt-free. We do not take funding from anywhere else. We are repurposing and rechannelizing almost 90%, 85% of our fees and revenues into infrastructure and other things. So our own funding, we keep pumping it into the system. So I think those are the three options that I can see right now. And then if possible, if you have access to government funds, good. But schools like us, which are standalone in the private sector, may not have access to it as easily as larger institutions like the IITs and IIMs. So therefore, we have to look at other options. And one of the ways that we could do it is probably have endowed chairs supported by the industry, and then of course internal funding. That's what we are working on.
Sure, sure. Professor Gopalan, moving on, I mean, a lot of students flock to the America, Europe, Canada, Australia. If we were to attract them, what would be our value proposition beyond just cost? Because India plays on cost, be it IT sector or any other, cost arbitrage. What would be our USP if we were to attract them?
Yeah. First and foremost, we must remember that I think world over we are recognized as a society that respects learning in a very large measure. And I think that entire middle class that we see in this country, which has been moving up on the strength of what the parents have imbibed in their respective families, a respect for education. They know that education is the only way up for them to move from whatever segment of the society, economical segment of the society that they are in, to a higher plane. So I think that is something the world recognizes, the world knows, and the world will respect. The other thing is, I don't keep up that much with news these days, but we are, I believe, the third largest economy today, or on the verge of? On the verge of, okay. So we are, again, a society in transition, a nation in transition, on a matter of scale as well. So if you want to see a place wherein there are so many ambiguities, there are so many, there's a wide range of, prosperity, between prosperity and poverty, a nation in transition, I think these are all major pluses that people can look forward to. And, as having been on academic leadership, as a part of academic leadership across institutions, what I've seen is whenever we have tried to go to other institutions elsewhere in the world, one of the first things that they want to do with us is when we say we would like to strike some kind of an exchange program. They say, and if you notice this, it's always been a one-way exchange. Students from the country going for a semester elsewhere, but not being able to elicit equal measure of movement in the other direction. But of late, there has been a very significant change. And that change is very, very simple. They are asking for internships for their students in India. And the sole reason for that is they want to see their students have an experience of this culture. Because going forward, another 20, 25, 30 years down the road, they see India and China as the two major countries and the two major civilizations that they will have to come to terms with. So they want a very large measure of their students, a very large number of their students, to kind of come to India, to come to grips with what ambiguity is, because walking through that maze of uncertainty, walking through that maze of ambiguity is what is going to be, the major force that you will have to deal with in the workplace in times to come. So India is therefore a very, very interesting place from that perspective.
Sure. Sir?
What my other members have said, three things are very, very important for the Indian higher education to be a global hub. One is definitely the academic leadership in terms of the world-class education that we must provide, and our education system must be at par of the global education standard. That is in terms of the curriculum design, in terms of the faculty, in terms of the environment, in terms of the labs that we have. So everything must be world class in terms of the total environment within the campus. Number one. Number two is the operational excellence in terms of the how do we operate and at what scale we operate. That's also important scenario. So what is the Indian and the foreign student ratio, and how many foreign students we would like to induct here? We are continuously talking on this subject, and what will be the cost aspect of it? Because though the cost advantage of the foreign students are here, but what are the more things that they can take away? What will be the takeaway for them in terms of when they come to India and how they operate? And how they will be living. So their living standard, their living sustenance here, and at the end of the day, they must go back with a good amount of takeaway, because the two things are important. The internship, in case of higher education, the internship, and number two is the job placement. So if you are not able to provide the internship or the job placement, at least a world-class incubation center, create an incubation center, which will be giving them the understanding of how the way the industrial scenario would be in future. Number three is the working with the government and provide the support to the government, understand the policymakers, what are they talking about the higher education. Today's higher education, next 5 years, would be very, very challenging, because I sit on the policymaker side and I understand that when we talk about the higher education, how the way we are going to change the next 5 years, the education system in this country. And so therefore, we have to gear up with the understanding that we are no more within the domestic area. We have to make our system global, and we have to create the global hub of education system. And so therefore, we have to create our infrastructure ready, our students ready, our faculty ready, our environment ready, our transportation system, logistics system must be ready. Everything must be ready, in the same that way, so that we can welcome the foreign students here. They should feel at ease as the way they must feel that they are in the same place, same home as what they are in.
Sure.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sure, great. Coming back to you, ma'am, how do you think we should position India, as a destination for education? I believe because, English as a medium of teaching kind of breaks barriers for, most of the nationalities. So I think that is one USP. And then we have such a vibrant ecosystem of IT and startups. I think that should also be leveraged. Any additional thoughts there, ma'am?
Yes, sir, definitely, sir. First of all, I will appreciate what Gopalan sir said about the Indian culture, heritage, Ayurveda. So all these things, if we make it inclusive in our education system, which NEP is doing by introduction of Indian Knowledge System, IKS, one of the credits, 2 credits are given for IKS for every undergraduate program. Along with that, the major component will come from skill, because with the introduction of AI, morning only in the introductory remarks, sir was mentioning about introduction of AI in Indian, not only in Indian, in world education system. So most white collar jobs will be taken up by the AI. So what will remain is skill. And India, I think there is almost in every nook and corner, there is some or the other skill, which is very, very vibrant. And if we are able to impart these skills to the foreign students, they will definitely get attracted to Indian education system.
Wonderful. Ma'am?
Yeah. So, just like the way in the letter KISS, KISS, I say for this one, what's a value proposition that India can become to offer education? It's EISS, right? Making it more economical, cost effective, that is something there, fine, good. The second letter is I for innovation. Now, which in our language we say jugaad, right? Probably somewhere we read jugaad as a very derogatory word, that I did not have the best of opportunities and therefore the next best alternative. But I think we need to decolonize even our mental makeup. The 200 years of slavery, we believe we are no good. But I think jugaad is a very beautiful reflection of the capabilities in innovation. What we did in UPI is something which now essentially is a global case study, the digitization, and with that kind of the sheer volume of it. And that brings me to the third letter, which is scale. In India, the way we handle masses, I mean, yeah, we might be burdened under the sheer numbers, but then still the success of managing scale is something that our systems, our education policy should look at more mindfully and take it as in their stride. And the third letter, S, is what my co-panelists earlier said, the soft power. The soft power of what we know. Somewhere, maybe we have lost that sense of pride in what we are capable of. So just looking at it with a renewed eye, I think that S, that is economical innovation, scalability, and soft power, is something that can bring us there.
Wonderful. That's nicely put, ma'am. So, Dr. Jones, moving on, NAP has allowed foreign universities to set up campuses in India. How do you see that impacting Indian education system? Do you see that as a threat, or
I think,
does it complement institutions here?
Okay, my thoughts on this is that I think it's a good way of shaking up our domestic education industry, because for the longest time, I believe we had become a little complacent because the demands were not very high. The students who could afford to go abroad would go abroad and get a better quality of education and so on. We were okay with, except maybe little pockets, we were okay with, a reasonably okay kind of level of education. With the foreign institutions coming in and the government of India sort of welcoming them into India, and there are already quite a lot of them setting up or wanting to set up their base in India, I believe that this is a wake-up call because they will bring in their levels of quality, their levels of different kinds of curriculum, their ways of pedagogy, and so on and so forth. It is not to say that we are not good. In fact, the fact that all of Silicon Valley is ruled by Indians is a testament to the validity of our age-old systems of education also. And I think a manager who was trained in India through the educational system in India of the last 15, 20, 30, 40 years, they have proven themselves in highly competitive environments in the US primarily, which is the most competitive economy in the world. And that, I believe, is proof that everything we did in the past was not all wrong. The new institutions which are coming up is basically telling us that it is not okay, or it would be better if we can benchmark ourselves to the best in the world rather than just doing what we were doing earlier. So I think from a perspective of entry of these new institutions, it's a threat in a good way, because people become more agile, they become more productive, they become more innovative when there is a perceived threat. But at the same time, I also feel that we have to be super confident of what we do. And I think we have done a lot of great things, a lot of good things as well. And the only gap that I feel is that we have to package it better, develop it wherever we are lacking. We can benchmark ourselves to these other foreign institutions which are coming in. But having said this, I would also, most of us already know that the kind of traction that these foreign universities were expected to have in India is not happening. Now, there could be multiple reasons. Why should, for example, a Generation Z student spend US kind of level of money or slightly lower to do a degree in India, right? So maybe the answer to that is probably visa restrictions. But at the same time, the customer is looking for value for money. And if their faculty are largely Indian, that's also a perceived problem with a lot of these students who want to study in these schools. Also, going abroad, like the ones we were talking about, if we are inviting students to come to India, we want to immerse them in our culture. Many of the students who wanted to go abroad, they wanted to immerse themselves in those cultures as well and pick up things from their cultures. Now, that is not likely to happen if they are just going to a campus in maybe Gurgaon or Pune or wherever, right? So therefore, I feel that it's a threat in a positive way in terms of it's going to push us for upping our quality levels. But at the same time, unless they change their business models, their journey in India is not going to be that easy, as many multinational companies have realized. India is a graveyard for a lot of these big companies which were successful across the world, but they didn't succeed in India. And so I think that's where we are at, maybe a couple of more years and we'll know exactly where we stand with these foreign institutions.
Professor Gopalan, what's your take on this? Because I feel, these foreign campuses would definitely go after the same student base, same student in a metro with the same, paying capacity. So would there be some competition somewhere there? Definitely get you to pull up your socks, but then, it's the same market that they'll play in. How do you look at the dynamics there?
I think my esteemed colleague has spoken at length about this, so I will try to add some more elements of it. It's a wake-up call in the sense that not only in terms of students, they are also competing for the same students, they are also competing for the faculty members that we have. Okay? So it's a challenge. The kind of reward system that are in place for in these universities is not something that most private, even the best of the private universities in this country can compete with. Okay? But at the same time, I am not very, very worried for the simple reason that already there are a lot of murmurs on the manner in which they want to run these institutions. They want to control these institutions from their respective home countries. They have lost very senior leadership people in the very recent past as a result of that. So, at some point in time that there will be a realization that they cannot do the kind of things that they are intending to do, trying to graduate people with the same degrees that they graduate in their home countries. In India, unlike, as I said earlier also in the West, there is no expectation of any employment from the through the university channels for their students, for their graduates. There are no placement offices in most universities. There is a career assistance that is provided by the university, not full-fledged placement cells. Here, whether we are a private university or many of these IITs or IIMs, there is an expectation at the end of the award of a degree or a diploma that the placement cell would almost assist you and take you to the future employer. That many of these foreign universities are going to find as a challenge in times to come. Of course, they will have their own placement mechanisms, I'm not doubting that for a minute, but setting all of those up will take time. And their impatience at this point in time is already telling us a story. So, in my opinion, we should not be so terribly be concerned about that. It is better to use their existence in this country as a wake-up call for us to do better than what we are doing today. Thank you.
Great. Sir, so no sleepless nights then, right?
Yeah, I will be answering two questions of yours. One is that the cost part of it, that the question that you have asked, where from the who will be investing the money? See, the money in case of the higher education system, the money comes from the for the private universities. Government universities leave aside, they get the money from the government, but the private universities, they get the money from the two sources, mainly. One is, of course, the CSR fund, as the madam said, that we have to have a industry-academia relationship, very strong relationship, based upon which the fund comes. And another fund comes from the endowment fund, that is from the, how do you build the alumni relationship? Because the alumni is, if in IITs and IIMs, if you know that the maximum fund comes, or the NITs or the other regional institutes, they have the very strong alumni base. And alumnus, they bring the money because they are sponsoring, they are connecting the projects, they are giving the internship, they are providing the many ways they support the university or the institute. So this is how the fund comes. And the third fund comes, of course, because of your extensive research work. And if you can do the very good research work, and then the fund definitely automatically comes from the foreign universities. So in terms of the consultancy, research as a consultancy, you can do the consultancy project for the industry, you can do the consultancy project for the various institutes, and thereby the fund comes. So private institutes, if they are the very good institutes or the universities, there is no dearth of the fund for them. And now for building the world-class education hub, so universities, they have to first decide whether they would like to admit the foreign students in future. In next 5 years, as I said, the very critical role for every institutes and universities. And they have to decide and take a call if they are interested to have the foreign students to welcome here. And accordingly, they have to develop their infrastructure. They have to think about world-class education facilities in terms of the designing, in terms of the program, pedagogy, and course content and other things. Faculty. The faculty is the most important. They are the pillar of success for every programs. So unless you have got a world-class faculty members, you just cannot make a program successful. The third is the internship, the lab. All these things are very, very important. The student housing, the other student facilities, that is very, very important, those things. So how intimately we are working with the students, that is also important. So job is not the requirement, but the more important is the incubation center. Make a world-class incubation center. Create such kind of facility, push the students in terms of ask them to create some kind of innovative thinking. The incubation center helps them for the innovation. And that helps them to push their thinking about their own entrepreneurship. So instead of thinking, depending upon and going for a work, asking for or begging for a job, let them be an entrepreneur. So that's how India will be becoming much more powerful, and India will be able to welcome the foreign students definitely in future.
Sure, sir. Wonderful. We are running out of time, so one final question, concise, precise answer from you, please. So the government is aiming to bring in 150,000 to roughly 200,000 students, foreign students into India by 2030. Right now, if I'm not wrong, we are at about 50,000. So starting with you, ma'am, Dr. Anita, what would be a realistic figure in the next 4 or 5 years?
We have 50 US ranking universities.
Right, that's right. So what number are you looking at realistically?
Sir, I will combine this answer with the previous question also. So with foreign universities setting up their campuses in India, I look at it as an opportunity. First of all, because they are having foreign institution, the kind of infrastructure which they are going to put up. So they are going to spend huge amount of money, and that is why they are going to charge huge amount of fees also, which most Indian students I don't think will be able to afford. So then they will have to collaborate with the Indian universities or Indian institutions. So there is an opportunity of collaboration, and this collaboration will help us. And in the process, when they set up their campuses in India, they will also bring some student, global student to India. So that is again advantage. But by 2030, I see only 5% of increase in the number of students. Currently it is 1% that we get, but it may go up to 5%.
A quick maths to the previous question. So about 60 to 80 lakh students flying from India to abroad. Multiply that with a fees of about 40 lakhs per annum. Do the maths, 4 years, how much money can we be saving if those students don't fly but stay in India with all those foreign universities? So a big opportunity for India there. And the second one is, I myself was a part of Lancaster University UK's India location for about 5 years. And believe you me, unfortunately in India we do not have any equivalent of B.Ed as there is in school for higher education. But in higher education, especially institutions based in UK, that's like a big mandate. So I believe, I do not know graveyard for them or not, but for us here in India, the opportunity to just see what different they do. And believe you me, there is statistical evidence at that sense. So I see that as a big opportunity. Now quickly to the next question. 4 times increase possible in 5 years, difficult, but not impossible. If Australia, within last few years, from nowhere in the top 10 list has come education as their first exporter, bang on. Canada, the last 10 years. So if we are talking of next 5 years, very much doable, just we have to put our house in order. Absolutely.
Wonderful. Dr. Jones, the time's already up, so quickly,
Yeah, I think the number that I saw was around 72,000 Indians, foreign students are in India as of 2025 December. So if I'm looking at 72, or let's take an average about 60, doing a 3 times that number and reaching 150 to 200,000 is not an impossible task, but it will require a lot of effort. Okay. It's not an impossible task. The question, as I was mentioning earlier, is about putting the spotlight on it. From 2021 to 2025, the number of students has actually doubled. So
in 4 years,
it doubled.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that if we do the right things and do the right kind of inter-country collaborations at the governmental level, at the institution level, reaching 150 to 100,000 students is not an impossible task. We can do it.
Sure. Professor?
I think whether it's 50 or 72,000, I'm not an authority. I don't even know. I have not even looked that up. But if it is 50, please remember, it has taken so many years to build up to 50. Of course, I got a little bit of help in terms of how it has doubled up in the last 5 years.
It's tough to make the first million, sir. And then after that, it's...
No, I just want to say, but most of the places where these foreign students are in private universities, which are now bursting at their seams. So unless and until new universities, new infrastructure, or expansions carried out by these universities happen, this number, which is, I'll assume, the gentleman's number of 72,000, will not cross a lakh.
As I
Final
said,
thoughts,
the
sir.
HICI is working onto that. The regulators are working. Academic excellence is the foremost important for us. Let's work together and make sure that we can welcome the more and more foreign students here in India in future. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, panelists. Thank you, everybody, for patient hearing.